Where is it? Like, I'm quiet because I'm searching. That's how you know I'm fucking old. What's up, everybody? Just making sure we're getting everything started. Didn't want to linger on the music too long. If you know what it is, send that in somewhere. Let me know. Be like, hey, on episode 1185 live, where you were talking and reading One Piece live, were you playing this song? And if I say yeah, I don't know, you might win something, kid. You may win something. Now, 1185 has come out. There's been numerous things that can be said about how amazing this chapter can be. We're getting more backstory about Shuri, why Brook called her the Princess Father Killer, what happened, why we caught a glimpse and saw them Domi fucking Reversi, why, or actually not even why, but how Brook was raised and how he was trained to be a part of the battle convoy, later on becoming the commander, taking over CandeLLE's spot, and also what happened. If you were here earlier this week with me, then you know you already heard what happened via the brief spoilers and the TCV scans, but we are going to actually see the panel, go panel by panel, right here on this stream. And this is your place for One Piece content, especially manga content weekly, the brief spoilers, full spoilers if we have them, TCB scans, and the official live read on Sunday, right here at Edge 2 Otaku, also on Edge 2 Gaming, which is on Twitch. Follow us everywhere, check out the pages, click on the links, do all the good stuff, share, and let's not wait. Let's go ahead and dive into this one. This one's going to be a good one. Okay, so I think it was like "Mind Your Business" was what we originally thought it was. This chapter is 1185. Mindja Own Beeswax. As we see Boa Hancock here cooking, shit is in flames, meat upon meat, because she's learning how to cook for Luffy. And it says, "Reader request: I can't wait for Luffy to eat this." Hancock practices her cooking. Hey, thanks for the like, Buck, but let me see. Something's going on here. Because on my end, on Twitch, it doesn't show that you guys can see this panel. Can you see this panel here? Let's switch. No, you cannot. Okay. Perfect. That's all I fucking needed to know. Where you at, you little bastard? I thought I clicked it, but I did not. There we go. Hey, all right, so Boa Hancock up here cooking for the boy, Monkey D. Luffy, and this is taking up a little bit more space than what I want, actually. Let's shrink this a little bit. I want y'all to see, but y'all, you know, my head got to fit on this motherfucker, too. And we got to make sure to cover it up with the One Piece logo, because they be bitching about good shit. They don't want y'all to get good shit for free, you know? And unfortunately, yeah, they're right. The good shit is on a paywall. It's on Patreon. Go check out the Patreon. The link is on the page. You can also sub to the channel. Sub into the channel. If you have Amazon Prime like I do and watch the shit that I do, you have a free sub. If you haven't used that bitch, use it here. I appreciate it, motherfucker. Use it. Let's get to it. Boa Hancock. Boom. Look at her. Flying, belly out, flames, smoke. People cannot breathe. She's in there cooking. The reader request: I can't wait for Luffy to eat this. Hancock practicing her cooking skills by Masako. Nice. I would like some more Yamato story or our next story, but these little side quests are not bad. You know, she's doing something productive. All right, we start here. King Luven. CandeLLE, I want you to take Brook as your squire and teach him proper manners and speaking etiquette. Of course, Prince Luven. And then Brook, look at this sword. I wonder if he even has this sword still. He goes, boy, there sure are a whole lot of pretty ladies around this place. Pretty lady. Skip that one. Pretty lady. And CandeLLE says, stop that. And then he's smiling. It's like, but you're the prettiest of them all, CandeLLE. Said, lady CandeLLE, you are my squire. Show me your panties, he turns around and says to a lady who starts to go, eek. And then she yells, Brook. So Brook has been this way again since a wee lad. And I want to know if that song he was singing was true, because everything that he sings is something that is actually happening or a way to mend those feelings or thoughts about things going on. So if his mom, dad, and brother died and he's the only one left, I wonder what they were like. But we see she gives him a guitar. He says, "You don't like your uniform? If I conform to school culture, I'll lose my touch with writing good music. But the convoy uniform, now that's what I want to wear someday." You see him sleeping with the guitar, and CandeLLE smiles as she puts the blanket over him. No kids of her own. And then we see him talking to battle convoy soldiers. "You're a lucky kid, you know that? You get to be Lady CandeLLE's squire. Yo ho ho," he says as he eats. And now they're both practicing. Look at CandeLLE over here. Pop, 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 pop. And we've seen Brook's skills before, but they just aren't highlighted and shined upon as they should. Yeah. "Are you in love with any particular man, CandeLLE?" "Lady!" "And yes, but he is far out of my league." And then she looks at him. "So I train very hard with the sword so that I might be as close to him as possible. I bet he'd like it if you dressed more ladylike." She goes, "That's not necessary. That's not necessary. I'm happy simply being at his side." He says, "His side? Are you talking about?" And this is where we see Brook's instincts kick in. Always a fucking comedian. Bam, hits her with "me," as he smiles and points to himself. She's like, "No!" I still don't know. By the last time that we read the TCB scans, if things are the same, I don't think CandeLLE is a spy for the Holy Knights. I just think she really does love Luven and wants to be by his side. And you see him walking. He says, "Lady CandeLLE, do you wear men's underwear too?" She's like, "No." It's like, I can just hear it deadpan. "No." "What? Then show them to me. Brook, you still haven't learned any etiquette. When asking for a favor of others, you have to speak politely." He said, "Then would you mind showing me your panties, please?" The very first thing we hear from him as he sees Nami. And he has not stopped this yet, not one bit. And this makes me think, like, how tortured is Brook's soul, and what does he constantly think about, knowing that everybody he's ever known has died? And now Shuri, who killed his benefactor, the man that he loved first before him, CandeLLE, like, where's his feelings at? Everybody else is gone. He's devoted his life to Luffy now, and then he's got Shuri that fucked up his life back then. But she hits him and says, "Of course I mind. Forget speaking politely. I need to beat some manners and civility into you." Good grief. And then we see, as time passes, he's falling on the ground, has that knot on his head. He finishes up his story to Shuri. He says, "Strength and etiquette are equally important." "Really? Then I'll do better. I'll try harder," he says as he crawls down the street after CandeLLE. And then he tells Shuri, at the age of 27, and she is 14 at this time, he says, "Lady CandeLLE is the light of our admiration." And remember, he loved Luven for coming to the junkyard, but he loved CandeLLE as well because she also saved him and took him in. And he looks at her and he says, "The sun that shines upon our country, which reminds me, one time a ship from the world government washed up on Esperia, and the kingdom was stunned to encounter a type of authority we never experienced before." And then Shuri goes, "The celestial dragon." So who has mentioned them to her? It had to be her dad then. If this is the first time he thinks he's mentioned it to her. He goes, "That's right. They certainly threw their weight around." Says, "Lady CandeLLE was bedridden for several months after that due to fatigue, and you wouldn't believe how gloomy the people were during those months." Yo ho ho ho. So I shouldn't laugh, but it truly was as if the sun itself had set. And we know what the celestial dragons do. There is a history of them going to places, finding women that are way out of their league, and then taking them for wives and raping them and having children with them. So I do not put them past them to do this to CandeLLE. And then what we know is later coming, she marries Luven, that he marries to cover it up. So is Shuri. And again, she is, we'll see at the end of this chapter, we saw in the TCB scan, she got transformed. We also see that Imu can take her over. She is a celestial, kind of like Shanks, but she also took the covenant, so that allows her to be transformed. But Brook says, however, that was only the precursor to wonderful news, Princess Shuri. Your father, the beloved uncouth prince, ascended the throne, and at the same time he married your mother, Lady CandeLLE. He said the stage of Esperia was engulfed in the cheers of the audience. Wonder where Brook was at this time. It said, and then you were born, Princess Shuri. And then he starts singing, the kingdom was all in a tizzy. Shows us her face. Eek, she's so cute. Thank God she takes after her mother. Ahem, I got a bit off track there. He says, my point is, I love your parents dearly. I owe them everything. I would give my life for them. I call this one a sacrificial rock as he plays his guitar in the same flower garden that they're sitting at. And then Shuri starts to think, she's like, Papa, Mama, Papa, Mama. Well, Brook, what would you do if it was me in danger? He says, the same thing, of course. She says, or he said, I would give up my life. Yes, indeed. And she goes, because I'm Papa and Mama's daughter, just pouting the fuck. Like, we know that she's had a crush on Brooke since she was younger, and this strange admiration. But she really wants to know if Brooke has feelings for her. And Brooke leans over. He's like, because it's you. She goes, what did you pause? Be honest with me. And she just pouts. And then, just like Tony Chopper, he pulls out a sucker, and she is a sucker for Candy. Then we go back and we see them training. We heard Brook when he was trying to fit in with the Straw Hats on the ship. He's like, I'm a swordsman. Do you mind if I go ahead and train with you, Zoro? I need to sharpen my skills. But we don't ever really see him training. We see him playing a lot of music, but never training on the sword. And now we see him just blocking all of Shuri's attacks. Then Shuri riding on his shoulder. She's like, Papa. And then Luven says, Father, don't be a child. And she goes, I love you too, Father. And then CandeLLE's just sitting there smiling. Next, we have her falling on the ground with a boo-boo, blood coming out of her finger. And the guards are looking, one smiling, and Brook is panicked with the first aid kit. And he goes, when you want to be independent from your parents, why not sing this song for a change, princess? Mindja Own Beeswax. And then we just see a series of just memories. She's sitting under the rain. He brings her an umbrella because she found a puppy. Trying to measure her. She's trying to get taller, stand on her tippy toes. He goes, ha 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 ha. What's that supposed to mean? And then we see it's a phrase from Kamagata, a land to the west. So what Brook is saying now, Mindja Own Beeswax, is something that is not seen in the land of One Piece. Thank you for the follow. FNL4M. Don't know what it is, but thank you. I appreciate it. We see also Brook getting kicked in the back of the head by Shuri as he talks to another lady. Shuri chasing him with a handkerchief ghost, scaring him. And then we see them sitting on the bank, him playing the guitar, down at the junkyard where he grew up, where Luven was sitting down there drinking with him. And he keeps on singing, Mindja Own Beeswax. I ain't some puppy dog lured by the candy store. And then you see he's been injured. His leg has been broken. He's in the bed in a sling. And then we see CandeLLE teaching Shuri how to make him some soup to get better. And he says, I ain't a kid at all anymore. He's eating her soup. She's passed out. He's enjoying it. Same way that Luven pretended to enjoy his shit food. Then we see him smiling, patting her on the head as she hugs him. And then we get from the narrator, the year that Shuri turned 15. And we see a man playing the violin. He says, what the? It sounds awful. The narrator comes back in as we see Esperia with a little fog around, and we see corroding instruments and a lifeless bay, a lifeless dock. It says Esperia lost its music. The kingdom was shrouded in a deep and terrible mist that lasted for half the year. The country's heritage, its treasured instruments, all rotted, and the mist curdled into smog that swallowed the island whole. Then we see Brook trying to strum away on a guitar that's rotting away, as well as people in the streets with clothes that are tattered and beaten. And Brook singing, let's lift their hearts with, as he coughs, hack, yeah. And then the narrator jumps in and says, from that point on, the streets were filled not with music, but the sounds of coughing. The poisonous smog racked the lungs of tens of thousands and took several hundreds' lives. The mist will clear. I know it will, CandeLLE says over the PA, but we see Esperian people sitting on the ground, coughing, hunched over. Next, we are at CandeLLE's funeral. The narrator, in the face of many baffling and horrific events, the kingdom grew weary and numb, and even after the mist lifted, the scars it left were felt deeply by all. As they normally do, the big ass picture honoring CandeLLE. And we see that Shuri, Brook, and Luven are all broken down crying. Luven at her grave. And then we hear, Your Majesty, we can no longer afford to make the heavenly tribute payments to the world government. As we look on, Esperia is not lively anymore. There's no music. It's silent. And there's just not really fog, but it doesn't look bright anymore. You don't see any sunshine. And we hear clang, ting, and it's, Shuri is lunging towards Brook. Boom. Whoa, Brook says as he blocks. Sometimes it's as if if you can see into the future, princess. Future sight. And she goes, I want to be like my mother. And then Brook says, you certainly have the potential, but I don't think your father will allow a princess to fight on the front lines of battle. She goes, father seems to have something weighing on his mind these days. And then we see Brook. I can imagine what it's about, but there's nothing we can do. My only option is to serve the king faithfully. And Shuri goes, I thought you wanted to be a pirate, Brook. He says, my honest comes first. Dreams are a secondary matter. And she goes, oh, okay, well, when you leave, I'll go with you. He's like, you can't. She goes, I will. So at some point in time before now, they've talked about this before CandeLLE died. I want to know the actual conversation. We probably won't hear it until Brook has a conversation with Gunko or Shuri on Elbaf. But you see Luven all tattered, worn out. He goes, there's going to be a war against the world government. And Brook immediately, without saying anything, bet, understood, your majesty, bows. And then he's walking with his head high, and they're like, wait, captain, at least tell us why, your majesty. And then he looks and he goes, Brook. And Luven continues, they demanded 1,000 slaves from us. That's the only way to get out of the heavenly tribute this year. Being a slave in the Holy Land might as well be death. And they're like, oh no. And he's like, the government will be coming here in 2 months, but I'm not going to choose sacrifices to be handed over to them. And then we see, as he says that, Brook is walking the streets. Even his clothes are tattered and shit. And people are worried. They're like, is our country doomed, Captain? Unaffiliated countries turn into a lawless wasteland, don't they? Is it true that they'll pillage everything we have? And as they're crying, snot coming out of their nose, and Brook says, I heard another country in the West Blue got wiped off the map. Or someone says, and then Brook busts out, well, I heard a little story once about a sea brimming with violence. And then he continues to sing up on a box while they stare. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? We want to know if we about to die. And he's singing, he said, where the boss don't want to go, full of samurai warriors and towering giants. So watch out for all of them. He says, give them a little bite and they'll be weak in the knees, like they're running from a swarm of bees. Better think twice, because we got nothing to lose. Wah ha ha ha. He's like, yep, that's right. They've landed at the North Harbor. Get over there, 12th platoon. So Brook sung some hope into these people, talking about Wano and Elbaf, which is hilarious because when we talk about places that are liberated or that were liberated from the dominion of Emu, it's those two countries. But the 12th platoon is moving in because the world government is now on the shore. It says, mind your own business. We still hear the song, but we also hear from soldiers and battle squadrons. Like, they didn't say it would be this many of them. Don't let them disembark. And then we still hear, mind your own business, as we see the world government flag in the background. And then Brook sheathing his sword. We're only in the corner of the map, but our name won't be erased just like that. He's singing to himself in his head, and he's just huffing and puffing. Then we also see 5 Marine soldiers fly back. He says, this is one place you can't steal from us, as he continues to storm forward without being stopped. Then we see 2 on the side of him that says, Commander, the enemy's reached the palace, 2 of his battle convoy. And he says, block off the stairs, I'll go in. And then Brook thinks of Shuri and Luven fighting. As he says, Shuri goes, but why can't I fight? And Luven goes, don't be stupid. If they take you hostage, then our arms are tied. And then we see some soldiers that, please be safe, Princess Shuri, Brook says. And then they say, hey, it's the guard, as they see Brook heading towards them. And Brook in his head says, oh, the princess, the garden we strolled through all those times, is now burning as 4 bodies drop to the floor, and he has not stopped running. We see Esperia in flames, just a burn, and we hear him singing, "Your Majesty, the dump," or he's thinking, "Your Majesty, the dump where we hung out is ablaze." We see him spinning through and slicing Marine soldiers. The world government topples at Brook's feet. He continued, "Mind your own business, mind your own beeswax, mind your own beeswax. The corners of the map are shining." He sheathed his sword again, bodies fly as blood springs to the air. He says, "Feel your courage slip away once you taste my vicious blade." He runs up the stairs, huffing and puffing. "Your Majesty, Princess Shuri." Wham! He slams open the door. A shocked look on his face, and then we come upon this. We see some member, maybe the Gorosei, maybe Knights of God, in a uniform, sitting in the back smoking a cigar. We see Shuri has stabbed Luven. He is down on the floor. And then we see Marcus Mars in his devil fruit, or his demon form. But look at the eyes. He's been possessed, I think. And then Brook is standing there, sword in hand, just in shock. And we see Luven with horns dead, blood around him. Brook's got blood running down his head in shock. Shuri's got horns sitting there. Our old boy Smokey smoking his cigarette. And then she's like, "This war is going to be over, Brook." As she looks slightly towards him to the left, him still in shock. Brook can't say anything. And she licks the blood off her face, says, "Aren't you happy?" To be continued this chapter. I don't think we have a break next week. But two things just at this last panel. If Shuri is being completely taken over, the theory that CandeLLE had a baby with a celestial stands. Since Luven is not regenning, because here's my theory. Harold regenerated and came back to life when he had the covenant on his arm. So if Shuri has that now, that can happen. We also saw the Davy clan members that got turned at God Valley, them not be able to switch back. We are seeing Luven dead and not return or regenerate. So he is not of the Davy clan. Also, we had Davy D. Zabek, who did not turn back. He is of the Davy clan, but that must mean Luven was transformed a different way, because the only way that people get possessed is if Emu possesses someone there, and he is possessing Mars in his devil root form right now, or his demon form, and using that to forcibly transform these two, because we can see flames on the floor around them, so they just transform. If Shuri is a celestial and she has celestial blood, and this is her homeland she was born in, he can just immediately transform her. Luven, this is his homeland. He's a prince, but that's not his. They're not biological. So I think Emu stabbed him like he did Davy D. Zabek and tried to transform her. Luven tried to fight as long as he could, then got down by Shuri. That's what my thought is. There's still some thoughts about the whole who's their real parents, who's not. But I think that's what happened, because we saw Dory and Brogy kill each other and then immediately flip back and heal 100%. So Luven would do that too if he's been cut down by Shuri. Unless that he got transformed a different way. And the only way I can think is him trying to stick him with those tentacles. And then we just got to stroll through Brook's back memory. It's always good. People don't like the flashbacks, but the flashbacks make the story and the arc more impactful. It gives us more detail. Half the shit that we're going through now wouldn't make any sense if we wouldn't have had Kuma flashback or had the flashbacks that we do. And fleshing out Brook, someone who's been alive so long and is with our current emperor, is really significant to the fucking story. And also Shuri, because she is being held hostage and taken over, or she is a knight of God by Emu. Other than that, we're going to get caught up and see what happened next. And then most likely, I think we're coming back to Elbaf with Luffy and the gang, and we're going to be taking on Emu. Luffy's going to end up putting hands on Emu for the first time, and we're going to see how that goes. Let me know what your theories are, what you guys think. Yeah, this is a quick one because we have 2 episodes of Outlaw Star coming up on the Pod OKC, so make sure to tune on to that. That is here on Twitch, the Pod OKC. We're watching episodes 9 and 10 of Outlaw Star at 7:30, so meet me over there. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe. Thanks for the follows. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel, help the YouTube channel and the rest of the channels grow so we can do more, and also follow the Patreon. Patreon is going to get full reactions, breakdowns, theories, openings, endings, all that shit is going over there. Also, I think it's time for Dragon Ball Fighters for Time Chamber Tuesday this week. So join me as we put in 100 hours with Master Rochi, which I put in 274, 247, one of the two. I've already hit my 100 hours with Roshi, but I want to be able to hit shit when I want to. If you've been watching me on Tekken and doing the shit I've been doing with Law, doing the parries, I've gotten all 3 parries right now. The third one, the crouching one, not consistently, but hey, I'm working towards it. Thank you guys so much. Join me over on the Pod OKC. I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good night. Peace.